diving. Hope comes and stops us in our tracks. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Good afternoon. Just doing some sharing here. My cat is feeling a little neat. Dude, fuck. I'll fix the camera in a second. All right. There. Now I can fix the camera. Thanks, Bastion. You're so kind. What are you doing? He being whiny today. Hey, Ingrid, I'm gonna get this camera set up one way or another. Yeah, Kitty's wanting attention. Hi, Ingrid. It's good to see you. Looks like we got some people joining. I figure I'd go on, kind of come on and tell some of my story. My story is quite lengthy and really long. I'd probably sit down and tell my story for a few hours with all the different things and ways that I could. I gotta take care of this cat because he's gonna mess everything up here. Dude, enough. Come here. Hey, Georgia. Come here, dude. Come here. There you go. Just sit down and relax. You've been whining all day. You're sick? You're sick? So I figured I'd come on and tell part of my story. I've let a couple people know, and I'm kind of waiting for them to come on. So, geez, thanks for cleaning that, kitty. Welcome to the Daily Trudge. I'm Dion. Yup. I'm Dion. I'm 7 years old. I was 6 years old, but now I'm 7 years old. And I get my chip. Stacy's gonna give me one of those real pretty ones. So, had a good birthday. Got to an in-person meeting and went to my home group. So, getting a lot of congratulations online. You know, I was in my 3:00 meetings, and it's selfish. Okay, so we're gonna laugh at it, right? So I announced my time, which is today, right? And somebody after me is like, I have 13 years, 10 days ago. I'm like, be stepping on my thunder. What's wrong with you? That guy ticked me off. That was 10 days ago, man. Stomp on my sobriety. All right, now we're going to have to laugh at that and move along. Amber, are you here yet? I don't think Amber's here yet. Here we go. Amber was bugging me about making sure that she was on. If you're the Amber, are you Amber Rose? Yep. Okay. All right. Let's do it. Let's get this. But then you can ignore the text I just sent you. All right. The hard part is I don't know where to start this. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. well, I have an idea where I'm going to start, and I think I'm going to be starting. This would be, I don't know. I don't know how old I was. All right, hold on. So 50. So I would have been in my early 30s. All right, that's when I relapsed. I relapsed when I was 31 years old. And I gotten sober when I was 18. I had 12 years of sobriety. And it wouldn't take long. Wouldn't take long till I was homeless again. Right? Cliff notes. It wouldn't take long before I was homeless again. But during that time, this kind of neat. A lot of people don't know this is I had picked up drumming in the meantime, and I started practicing my drumming. And in 9 months, I was actually headlining at Herman's Hideaway on Saturday nights. I'm not a great drummer. I'm a good drummer. I'm not a great drummer, right? So I love drumming. So that's something you know about me. During this time, I would yell at Simon Cowell. Uh, went to the I went to the American Idol. Clay Aiken, Ruben Studdard. Some of you weren't alive yet, I don't think. And Simon Cowell was there. And because we went to the after party, I had a girlfriend at the time who was a fantastic singer, and she won tickets because of her singing. And so we went out there. I met Halle Berry. She's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely, that she glows yellow. I thought Halle Berry was. I didn't see what the thing was till I met her. Hey, she was out there with what's his name, Sinbad. Man, it's taller than nothing, like in the clouds. Those two standing next to each other is like this. Yeah, really offset. So, um, I would go on to do a lot of things like I used to interview a lot of bands in their space and be on radio. So I've been on radio. I've done some TV, believe it or not, and you know that's great. So let's get to the part where I kind of wanted to get to. At this point, my fiance and had just broke up with me, and everybody that was living in the house I was living in just disappeared. They all left. They just left. All right. So I moved out, and I did have a job. Right. And I would lose that job, not because of my drinking. My drinking didn't help. Okay. And I want you to remember this with this job. So I worked for them, and um, what it was a credit card processor, okay, called EPS. And they had this program where you could get a personal loan to buy something without running a credit check. Okay. And it's actually legit. It is. Well, theirs isn't. Well, they had stole that idea. Just keep that in mind. They had stole that idea from somebody else. And what they had done is they were using it to abuse other people. I'm not going to tell you how or get into why. Okay. We also dealt with contracts. This was, dealing with banks, things like that. We went through 2 years of stuff. So I was working for them, and they let me go because I yelled at one of their leasing guys that he was a piece of shit ripping people off, and they didn't really like that. So I lost my $15 an hour job, right? From there, I started dating one girl at the time, and Um, she didn't speak much English. We got along great. We got along great. But she hung out with a lot of people that were very, very rough and stuff. And I was finding people coming over to my house were stealing things. Somebody stole my whole rent money once. Right? She had one person that came over, and I just did not like this kid. There was you just tell he was dangerous, and he did that. And I knew it best just to keep my mouth shut with this guy because you didn't know how he was going to act. And a week later, he ended up in prison because he beat the crap out of somebody for a PlayStation with a bat. Now, why am I telling you guys this stuff? Because these are the kinds of people that I hung around for companionship and approval. Very dangerous people. I have met actual drug dealers. And when I say drug dealers, I'm talking about, I'm not talking like, meeting the head like Capone or what's his name? I don't remember his name, but some guys that are pretty high up there. Let me tell you something about drug dealers. Okay. Number one, they don't do drugs. Drug dealers don't do drugs. In fact, most drug dealers think that people that use drugs are stupid. They also have no empathy. None. And that's what makes them scary. All right. So things weren't going well. I lost my job. I was going to lose my apartment. I was looking at being back out on the streets, but I'm a survivalist. I am. I mean, for the 7 years before that, I had actually been couch searching, right? So I made a decision because somebody offered to buy me a plane ticket to California. I'm like, okay, let's check it out. Hi, Patricia. It's good to see you. I'm just getting started. You know me, it's 12 minutes in. I'm just kind of getting started. And I appreciate everybody's patience because something happened. I'll cover that later. See, it's hard for me to remember these things in order. So I moved out to California, and what I was going to do was I was going to drink myself to death. That was my plan because I had had enough. I'd had enough, and I was probably 37 by this time, 36. So I relapsed when I was 31. So 5 years later, I'm already ready, right? That it's still, no, it wouldn't happen anytime soon. So I decided to move out to California. And I was going to drink myself to death. That was the plan. I was just going to party till it killed me because there wasn't anybody in my life that I gave a fuck about. There wasn't anybody in my life that gave a fuck about me that I thought of, Of course, my mom did and my sister. And I want to go back a little bit, go back to the beginning of my very first sobriety. So when I gotten sober the first time, I was homeless. And when I say homeless there, I was living on Skid Row. Okay. And I had been dating this girl for 3-4 months by this time. I met her at Skipper's. I was a assistant manager there, and she was one of the new hires. And I saw her, and it is. I just fell in love. I did. I fell in love with her immediately. And I asked her for her phone number, and she said no. She told me no. So I went after her for the next 3 months. And God bless her heart. She was 17. And then I got sober. But I was downtown. And this was 1989. Okay. Phones and snail mail. That's what we had. And I actually, I think I called her. I think I actually called her from there, let her know where I was at. And she did a lot of stuff with me. She was there when I got to speak on the Capitol steps. That's right. I was homeless and talking on the Capitol steps. She was there when we won a lot of awards for a prevention team and stuff. And she was a big part of my recovery. And I did break up with her. Don't. I've even had Asian ladies yell at me about this. Well, we went back to this. Later we would go back to this anyway. So I just wanted to fill that in. So I moved out to California, and this guy said, he had a house, a room for me. And I get there, and it's a fucking trap house. If you don't know what a trap house is, it wasn't to the extent. You know what? Let me rewind on that. It wasn't to the extent of a trap house yet, but it was getting there. Place was a mess. Nobody worked. Right? I went out there to do sales with this guy. Turns out this other guy was in a sober living, which didn't help his sobriety at all. I was a heavy drinker at the time, so who am I to say? But I was in a very dangerous situation there. I would actually walk down to the liquor store and people would yell at me, throw things at me because I was the wrong color. I was in a place called Lemon Grove and I never saw one lemon ever. Never saw a lemon. Except for the big lemon that they have on display at the front of the street, right? Dieta Rainiers. Oh, nice, Chris. That's cool. I like that. Chris says he won an award of second place in U.S. for helping mentally ill. This is a goal, Chris, in 2007. Good job, man. Good job. So I was in this trap house, and it turns out, remember I said I worked for a company called EPS, and that they had stolen that system. Well, it turns out the people that created that system were in San Diego where I was at. And I called them up and said, hey, I'm from EPS and I need a job. They said, come on down. I'm hiring. And I actually found a job. Otherwise, I was fucked. I was fucked. If I didn't find that job, I would have been screwed. I'm not sure why you keep saying Dieta Rainiers, Rubidillo. Oh, that's probably who you are. Welcome, Dieta. Is that the Dieta I know? I know a Dieta from a long. Oh, okay, got it. Thank you. All right, that's Amber doing her stuff. I love having a young person on Trudging Together. It's good. Anyway, all right. So I got a job, all right, and I got enough money together, and I moved out of there. Okay, and I had a job, and I would be there for about a year and a half. Obviously, I didn't drink myself to death because I'm here. I'm here right now. Okay. I was always shaking. Everybody knew I had an alcohol problem. I didn't hide my alcohol. I didn't. See, people have been calling me an alcoholic since I was 14. So I always drank on what we call the fuckets. And that was very, very dangerous. Before I forget, what I'd like to bring up here just real quick. I had 12 years of sobriety and now I have 7. So I have 19 years of total sobriety. I drank for a total of 19 years. So I've hit that evening off place, and I'm wondering what's going to happen in my sobriety. I'm just curious. I doubt very much that something spectacular is going to happen, but I think that's just real neat that, I've hit 0, which is cool. So now, everything from here on is pure sobriety, which is awesome, I think. So, I had actually done that before. See, I had 12 years, but I had only been drinking for 5. All right. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys a funny story. So I had moved into this place. The guy I moved in with, he was a pretty cool guy. He was pretty laid back. He didn't care about my smoking. He didn't care about as long as I paid my rent, right? And I'd been living there about a week, and he said, "Hey, we're all walking down to the bar. You want to go with us?" I'm like, "Walking? Bar? Yes." Right? So we go down there, and it wasn't too far, so I actually put a couple shooters in my pocket, went down and ordered a beer, kept drinking outside. Yeah, you know how it goes, right? And everybody's having fun, but I was tired. I'm like, "Hey, I'm going home. I'm going to crash. I'm tired. I'm so tired." And so I go home and I crash. I wake up in the middle of the night, and some girl is behind me spooning me. I reach behind. I'm like, this kind of a big girl. And this is just weird. And I look behind me, and it's my roommate. And he stands up. It's just in his boxers. They're spooning with me. I laughed at it then. He was in the wrong room. Oh, I woke up in the morning, left me a note, like a Dear John note, and some morning after pills. That's kind of a funny story. Please put some LOLs in that, please, or some laughing. See, I'm also testing stuff out to see if I am going to use it on Saturday. All right, funny little side note there. So I was working at a place called uh, Global Check Service, okay? And Global Check Service got to a point where they were going to remember that company I was talking about, EPS. They were going to sue them, and we did for $7 million in federal court. We won. They haven't paid a dime of it yet, still to this day. Okay, but what had happened was I was never ever taken seriously, ever. Any of my opinions, anything that was going on with it, I was just used. I was used. Okay, just like every other company had ever done to me. So we go to court thinking I'm an expert, and we get into court, and every question that's asked of me is about my drinking. Everything. I mean, they tried to, and I did a good job. I just, yes, no, blah, blah, blah. All right. So I've discussed my drinking in federal court before too. Right. That was kind of embarrassing. I got $1,000 out of it, but it would fuck me up. It would fuck me up bad. It would actually set off my PTSD eventually. So one day, I'm on Facebook. Heck, it might even be MySpace. No, it was Facebook. And I get a friend request. And it turns out that the friend request that I got was from my old girlfriend when I was sober before. And I wasn't actually going to accept. My phone is going off. I wasn't going to accept it because I was embarrassed. I didn't want her to see what I had become after watching me go through all of that before. And I was embarrassed. But I accepted her friend request anyway. I went ahead and did it. That move right there would actually, it would start in motion Dion's quitting drinking. But it would be 5 years before it happened. Turned out it was Shannon, who's my wife. I'm married to her now. 12 years we've been married. I love her just as much from the day I saw her. This woman saved me. She saved me. And so I sent her the friend request and I got an immediate response from her. I think she was waiting. And 2 weeks later, she came out and we've been back together ever since. Right? She would tell me things like, Dion, okay? Because when we first got together, I wasn't planning on drinking. I wasn't planning on quitting. I wasn't. But I knew that some changes were probably going to have to take place. I knew it. I'd been in the program before. I knew how this worked. I knew eventually I was going to have to give up the hooch if I planned on having any kind of relationship with her or my kids. Okay? And she would tell me things like, Dion, I know what you're like when you're sober, and I'm going to wait for him. You know how hard it was to hear that? It was really hard. But she was right. And it was always out of love. If there's anybody in this world that's taught me how to love, it was my wife. Right? And I didn't really even understand love until 4 or 5 years ago. So we had been together a couple of years and I had a heart attack. I had a heart attack at the age of 42, 10 years ago. And that would not stop my drinking. And what had happened, there was this is where I really got into it with my family. My wife had invited my family. Um, and while I was in surgery, they pulled her aside and decided to do a little prevention, talking about that she needs to leave me. And I had them all kicked out, and then I put cease and desist orders on them. Fuck them. Even to this day, you step in between the two of us, you're going to find my foot up your butt. Immediately, there will be no hesitation and no lube. You just don't do that. Nobody has a right to interfere with other people's relationships. Okay? Now, granted, what were they doing? So here's the thing. Were they doing the right thing? I think so. Okay. They had a concern, but what they said and the way that they went about it didn't feel that way. See, my family's always treated me like Dion's not allowed to have anything. And to this day, most of them still treat me that way. Okay. It was hell. So I'm going to talk about the last few years of my drinking. I don't remember much of it. Okay. They talk about it in the big book on page 21. I was always more or less insanely drunk at all times. Okay. There wasn't a time going by when I wasn't drinking alcohol. I don't know how much I used to drink. A lot. If it was in the house, I would drink it. So I would actually have to watch how much I bought. If I bought a handle, that'd kill me. I'd just open up my gullet, go, goop, goop. Why? Because I wanted me dead. Right? See, and when I was in the program before, I feared coming back because I was afraid that God wasn't going to take me back. Right? I was wrong. I was wrong. Thank God I was wrong. But I was like, God gave you a chance, Dion. He made you a drug and alcohol counselor at age 20. He gave you a son. He gave you a daughter. And you shit on it, dude. You fucking shit on it. Then I have this love of my life in my life who loves me under all conditions. And I don't know what the hell to do with it. I didn't know what I was doing. So I drank at it. Right? The last 2 years of my drinking, I would be in and out of detox 22 times. And I put myself there every single time. I was always there voluntarily. The thing is, this is what I knew. I knew that if I took away my freedom, eventually, because the one thing I can't stand, if I took away my freedom enough times, my brain would be like, okay, enough. Because it wouldn't appreciate it. I also knew, because I'd worked at detox before, that I could go there and get help. I was wrong on the second part. I would ask for help, but nobody ever helped me while I was at detox. Okay. I would soon figure out why. Later, I would figure out why. Because none of them were in recovery. And I would ask, are you in recovery? Nah. You in recovery? Nah. How can these fucking people help me? So thank God I knew what to do. Thank God I knew what to do, or I'd probably be dead. That's what misinformation does in recovery. They didn't treat us well. All it was a power control. They had no empathy for us. They just saw us as a bunch of out of control children, because we were. Detox said, woo, wait. But I'm not going to pick on the detoxes this time around. And they have a long ways to go. Just start hiring people in recovery again, would you? So recently, it was brought to my attention. See, I thought that I didn't remember like the first 2-3 months of my sobriety. And it turns out that I don't know the first couple of years. It's coming back to me. It's coming back to me now that I'm like, oh shit, no wonder. I've always felt this lapse in my recovery, and that's what it was. So on April 16th, 2016, I was checking out a detox. Actually, I called my wife 2 days before. I said, come pick me up, put me in detox. And she did. And a couple of days later, I was detoxed. Well, I was detoxed as well as I was willing to be detoxed. And I was sitting down with the person, probably a case manager, and he said, Dion, do you know how many times you've been here in the last 2 years? I said, no, I don't. He said, you've been here 22 times. And I told him, this is the last. And I haven't drank since. I don't know what happened. The only thing I can think of is that God just removed my obsession right then and there. Because the next 2 to 3 years would be filled with anxiety, PTSD, hiding, running from everything in the world. I just couldn't leave the house. I was so scared. I still go through it. I was scared to go to the noon meeting today, but I make it through it. And this is tough for me because I'm a very outgoing person. I'm used to going here and there. And now I'm like, we're going to make an extra stop. No, we're not. And I'm trying to be more lenient on that. But my anxiety and my PTSD. So let me explain what PTSD is. Right? What happens when you have PTSD is a memory will pop up in your head. Okay. But it doesn't go to the memory portion, which is over here. Right. It's happening right now portion of your brain. So it wants a reaction. It wants a reaction right now. But it's not happening. So you don't know how to act. Okay. PTSD is like having a out of body experience. you'll be talking to somebody. I'll be talking to somebody like my wife or whatever, and I want to say I love you, but it comes out, fuck you. That's PTSD. It's very intrusive. I still have nightmares pretty much every night. They've been a little bit nicer to me lately. I, and what it came down to was between my jobs always abusing me and my alcoholism and being locked up at the age of 14, it is tough for me to go somewhere and say, you're required to do this to a certain, I can't do it. So I started going to therapy, right? And I was a couple months sober. I don't remember. I remember going to therapy, but I don't remember like outside stuff, like what happened at this time. It's still unclear to me. And that's kind of frustrating. So I started going to therapy, and it took my wife and my therapist a few months to convince me that I had PTSD. See, PTSD, just like alcoholism, comes with denial. It comes with it, you know. So, and so do other things like paranoia, anger, a lot of anger, right? And during that time, I kept telling, I want to get back to work. I want to get back to work. Because as a man, you feel like you're supposed to work. Got work, got work. So I'd always force myself to do that just to fail. Every time. Okay. I am a horrible employee. I went to work at East Metro Detox about a year ago. And I told him too, I told the manager, I'm like, and he kept bugging me. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be a good employee for you. Right. And all it did was ruin our relationship. That's what I was trying to avoid. Right. Because you got to have reasonable expectations. And I was not living up to those. So when you have anxiety and PTSD, the physical portion that happens to your body could be extremely dangerous. And I used to have to argue and go back, and I went back and forth all the time with doctors about Ativan. I was on Ativan for quite some time. I love Ativan. But you know what? I can take it or leave it. It's not huge for me. Then they started calling me a pill seeker. Then came the names, the stigma. So then I couldn't get help. I was going to therapy. I was doing everything that I needed to do. Right. And it would take me 3-4 years to work through that. Okay. At about 4 years sobriety, it was maybe 4.5. By this time, I had started the Daily Trudge. So I started the Daily Trudge when I was like 3.5 years sober. And the Daily Trudge actually caught on around town pretty quick amongst the popular people. And I had a company reach out and say, hey, we'd like you as a recovery coach. What do you think? I mean, we think you'd make a good recovery coach. I could do something like that. Right, that it's actually right down my alley, right? But I was going to have to go to class, and I did it. I went to class with my PTSD, everything else. I went. I don't know how to describe the next part. And it was going good. We had a lot of great things going on. Right. And this was with it was the Hornbuckle Foundation. I don't care, people. No, not anymore. Everybody's name coming out. Sorry. I have never been treated so badly in my life. I haven't. So I come on as a recovery coach, right? And I'm really good with knowing how things need to be done. I'm fantastic at it because I've been doing it for so darn long. Um, but then we got to take insurance, and everybody was excited except for me because I knew what was going to happen at this point. I knew what was going to happen. And I let the hornbuckles know, if you go this route, this is what's going to happen. And I started letting them know things. And at one point, they just stopped giving me clients. So I kept asking, I'm like, can we go do client? And one day, Michael and I were going to go down to Mile High, right? And we're going to introduce ourselves. And I'm a recovery coach, but he couldn't make it. I'm like, no big deal. I can take care of it. I'm a grown man. And this is what I get. Those are my fucking clients. Click. I hung up on him. Okay. Why am I bringing this up? Okay. It's been what, 3.5 years now. I've never really talked about. I've never brought up their names. Okay. But it's time that people are done hiding in my area. It's time for people to start being accountable for who and what they are. Okay. I'm tired of watching them kill people. I am. At one point, I didn't have any clients, and they called and asked me, "Hey, do you mind taking over the phones? Because we're just too busy with clients." My answer was no. I said, I could help you out by taking some of those clients, you know. Oh, no, we got covered. Oh, yeah, obviously. And then came the black ball. One day they just wanted to talk. They had to talk right now. And I told them, I am having an anxiety attack right now. No. Hey, force it. And while we were on that phone call, I was told how I couldn't do podcasting because other people were better at it, that I couldn't educate because other people are better at it, and maybe I should just come back to work for the Hornbuckles. In fact, what they think is that Michael should be my recovery coach. And I laughed at that, right? So the decision was made that I was going to take a hiatus. But as soon as we got off the phone, that's not what happened. No, I was excommunicated. There were people that I was working with that I have known for 30 years, but because they're part of the Sober Souls, they don't talk to me anymore. They tried to ruin my name. They gaslit me. See, it's easy to gaslight somebody with PTSD, but they didn't realize something. I don't tolerate bullies. I do not fear them. Okay? I used to fear bullies until my parents put me in a group home. They don't scare me no more because they're just big fucking babies. All right, let's move on because this isn't about that. It put me back a little bit. Ooh, I was pissed. I was so mad. I was hurt. And then everybody's like, what are you talking? I mean, and cut off from all communication, chat, kicked out of the WhatsApp, taken out of the group, right? That's because they had a plan already. See, they already knew that they were going to let me go. Why? Because they were setting themselves to commit fraud. We were right. I was correct. And about 8 months later, everybody got cut off from Medicaid for fraud. Ha ha. And that's why I say, and to this day, it still happens. That's why I work towards recovery equity. That's why I push trudging together harder than you ever know. That's why I walk around and I'm a leader by example. Okay. From there, I tried to set up things I called sober underground, right? Because it's easy for me to get together a band. That's just not. It's like easy work for me. Right? I'm like, yeah, we could do this, get it set up. They're like, great, yeah, let's do it. Never hear back. Just so happens Michael Hornbuckle's friends with him. Huh. I hired to go get a job at a place called Connect. Terry Smith over there. Had a great conversation. You know what? We're going to bring you on. Well, I love you. The lawyer's going to send you the paperwork. Never heard from them again. Surprise, surprise. Who's friends there? It's all connected, man. And people think I'm crazy. I am. I'm crazy for Cocoa Puffs. Let's get more into the program now. There's a point to me telling you all of this. And people kept saying, Dion, you have a resentment with them. You have a resentment with them. You have a resentment. So I did everything I could. 4, 5, and even at one point, I did a 9th step. I did. Because I had created some division with them. I played that part too. And I stopped. I stopped doing that 3 years ago. But they're still doing it. Do you think I'm going to get an amends back? No. And I'm not expecting one. I don't need their apology for me to move on with my life. I don't need that. What it came down to is fear. Fear that they're going to get caught. Right? And there's more stuff to that, but that's not what we're getting to. It wasn't a resentment. I'm not saying there wasn't a resentment there and that I didn't have to do some resentment work, because come on, let's be honest. But beyond that, no, it was PTSD. So see, when that stuff would happen, I'd think of it, it's like it was happening all over again. Dion's being put down. Everybody hates me. You're putting me away. I've never felt wanted. I wasn't wanted at school. I didn't have any friends. My parents didn't even want me. I have people in my life now that want me, including my mommy. Fuck my dad. He's dead. I talked to him twice before he died. I never knew my dad. I didn't know my biological father. I had my stepdad who hated me. He just didn't like me. So what would I need to do? I would need to get outside help. I went back to therapy. I needed it. I've been back in it for quite some time. And I did EMDR, which was spectacular. It helped me so much. It did. Right? And then I found myself getting a little bit of speed going. Right? And the last 3.5 years, there's been so many changes to Trudging Together because it's been trying to find its feet. It's my baby. I love Trudging Together. And I will brag about it anywhere I go, if I can. Because it does great work. It does great work. Because I had a problem. I couldn't get to your AA meetings. And that's why I started going live every day. Those were my meetings. It was the only place I could find some camaraderie. Right? Then this really weird thing happened. COVID. COVID happened, and suddenly all of you folks were in my little world. I've been going to AA meeting on Zoom before COVID, wasn't many of us, right? And I loved COVID because then you guys could understand where I'm coming from for once. See, it sucks being stuck home against your will, doesn't it? It sucks. During this time, I'd still get all my naysayers. Yeah. Most time people get mad at me because I'm still in my pajamas. I'm get in it. Well, I'm working. Leave me alone. And I usually am working on something. Usually something's coming up. Okay? So Trudging Together got started. And actually back then it was called Closed Mouth Friend. And what it actually started out as is a website for people with SUD who couldn't get out of the house. We even had a program called Bridge the Gap. Stole that from me too. Hey. Man, sorry, my mind just kind of went blank. So what's it really like now? Well, I do still have some of my PTSD. Okay. And there are times when I'll see their little faces on Facebook or something. It still irks me. It does. Okay. So what did I do? I don't follow those people. Because I need to set myself up to succeed. Otherwise, this brain will just automatically go to that. Okay. So I have to do little tricks to my brain, right? Sometimes I get caught up. I'll be talking to somebody and we get caught up in that night. I'm like, what are we doing, man? I'm like, let's talk about business. Screw them. Let's move on. And that can be pretty hard to do because, gosh, it's so much easier to sit there and bitch about all the things these other people are doing instead of talking about what needs to actually get done. And that's who I am. I'm not scared to speak the truth. I'm not. I fear no man. Well, except drug dealers. I fear drug dealers, and you should too. They're evil people. Man, no, it just scares me, and I don't scare easily. Not with people. But that's what it's about for me. Today, even 3 years ago, when all that happened, I couldn't get one person to fucking work with me because they had destroyed my name. And it's not like I could get out of the house and defend myself. And they know this stuff. And it continues on to this day. They'll laugh at my posts or say there's always something. Kind of like I talked to a friend about 2 months ago, and surprise, surprise, the bullies are doing my idea. Oh, I gave her the wrong information. Hope they figured it out. So, my life today, I'm kind of at where I want to be at. Because what I want to do with the rest of my life is sit behind a desk and help people out. It's what I want. It's literally what I want to be, the wise old man that people go to for wisdom. And I'm kind of in that position and I like it. Now, that is a skill that I have, but it doesn't make me any less or more than anybody else. We all have our passions. We do. And that's what I work with. I work with passions. Because, see, I know how much you'll get done when it's your passion. And so if you have a passion and it's in recovery, you might want to reach out to me. We've got several people on our team that are doing, they have their own personal stuff, but Trudging Together supports it, and we support each other. And it works very, very well. That means if somebody on our team needs help, they got 4 other people they can call immediately. If Dion's not available, they have 4 other people to call. And that's support. For me, it's about doing the right thing. Okay? I'll give you a very good example. Okay? There's a group of people about to have a carnival. Why can't we take that money and do something useful with it? Because they just want their name up in the frickin' lights. It's really all it's about. Oh, look what we did. Look how I can jump. It's really hard to describe what it's like. I almost have the luxury of doing this every single day. I know why it's feeling weird, because I always end with something. See, I barely even touched my story, and I talked for almost an hour. I barely even touched my story. My story would probably take 3 hours. Yeah, that's the biggest reason right there. Because I can go to my AA group, walk in and say, I'm feeling lonely. Do you know what I hate worse than being lonely? Describing to somebody else how and why I feel lonely. You guys don't answer. You don't ask me those questions. Why are you feeling lonely? Nope, that's not what comes out of their mouth. What comes out of their mouth is, you need a hug? Love to give you a hug. You know, today I went to a live meeting so I could get a hug for my chip. That was the main reason. Human connection. All right. I'm going to read something out of the Keys of the Kingdom, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. I could probably sit here and talk and talk and talk. Well, we ain't done yet. Let's read through this. I'd like to cover it. I've never sat down with this one and covered it at the same time. So AA is not a plan for recovery that can be finished and done with. It is a way of life, and the challenge contained in its principles is great enough to keep any human being striving for as long as he lives. Right? So, it is a way of life. See, this is my way of life now. This is what I do almost all the time. Even in my sleeping moments, I'm trying to help people. My brain is usually thinking about how somebody else needs help. Unless I'm decompressing. You got to decompress, man. And there's a lot of challenges in life. Most of them really, really good. You're going to find that your problems will turn into challenges. And you will be able to walk through that with you're going to find one day a well of courage. And it's going to amaze the fuck out of you. We cannot outgrow this plan. Yeah. Never seen anybody grow up enough to do it. Here's the thing. Why would you want to? If that's where your friends are at and that's where you find camaraderie, then why would you want to? I'm still getting used to this desk. I'm sorry. Ugh. No more touching anything. Because the cord comes down here and it's by my legs. So, all right. As arrested alcoholics, we must have a program for living that allows for limitless expansion. Keeping one foot in front of the other is essential for maintaining our arrestment. What does that mean? That means no resting on our laurels. That means that yesterday's success doesn't count for today. When I wake up tomorrow, it's a brand new day. When I wake up, you know what it means? It means I have a person I need to help. That's what it means. If I'm getting up, somebody's going to be helped. Others may idle in a retro groove without too much danger, but retrogression can spell death for us. However, it isn't as rough as it sounds. You get to a point where what they're talking about happens. It happens. Okay. However, this isn't as rough as it sounds. As we do become grateful for the necessity that makes us toe the line. Now, why would we be grateful for that? God. And what happens next? And we find that we are compensated for the consistent efforts by the countless dividends we receive. Keep dividends in your mind. Okay? A lot of things are a dividend. Love is a dividend. Gratitude is a dividend. It is what you receive for doing the work, for being God's vessel. A complete change takes place in our approach to life. Where we used to run from responsibility, we find ourselves accepting it with gratitude that we can successfully shoulder it. Why? Because we've never been able to do that before. And now that we can, it's kind of exciting. And we actually kind of get excited. Are we going to solve my problem? Great, let's do it. It's kind of how we are. Are you fucking crazy? Yes, I am. Instead of wanting to escape some perplexing problem, we experience the thrill of challenge and the opportunity it affords for another application of AA techniques, and we find ourselves tackling it with surprising vigor. The last 15 years of my life have been rich and meaningful. I've had my share of problems and disappointments because that is life. But also I've known a great deal of joy and a peace that is the handmaiden of an inner freedom. Inner freedom. Inner freedom. Love it. Love it. With my PTSD, that's kind of what I'm talking about. See, my PTSD is also arrested, and I must maintain that every day. And the more I do it, the better I get at it. Then you don't even think about it. You just do it. I have a wealth of friends, and with my AA friends, an unusual quality of fellowship. For these people, I am truly related. First, through mutual pain and despair. And later, through mutual objectives and newfound faith and hope. Mutual objectives. Right? What would be a great mutual? Amber. Amber is wanting to work on prevention. That is a great one, and something the whole team can work on. And if you want to be part of the Trudging Together team, all you need to do is reach out. We'll see what we can do for you. Be ready to do service work, though. If you don't want service work, then don't contact me. For to these people, and as the years go by, working together, sharing our experiences with one another, and also sharing a mutual trust, understanding, and love without strings, without obligation, we acquire relationships that are unique and priceless. See what the cool thing is here? None of you want anything from me. That's why I can speak freely. All right. What is this? It's a safe space. It's a safe space. Okay. Every now and again, we might get somebody from YouTube on here, but that hasn't happened in a while. I don't get very many trolls. Not even trolls want to hear me talking about the truth. I just don't. Well, that comes with more numbers. So, all right. There is no more aloneness with that awful ache so deep in the heart of every alcoholic that nothing could before could ever reach it. That ache is gone and never need return again. You remember feeling so lonely it hurt your stomach. Yeah. That's your intuition crying out. Those are your morals saying, let us out. We want to be free. We want to do things. Because deep down in the heart of everybody is the fundamental idea of God. And that's what's going on. Now there's a sense of belonging, of being wanted and needed and loved. Isn't that awesome? That we're all wanted, needed, and loved. Wanted. Nobody's ever wanted me in their life before. Need me in their life? That's even cooler. That's even cooler. Right? Actually, no. I think somebody wanting you in their life, I think is more. Who knows? Probably opinion, right? All right. Of being wanted and needed and loved. In return for a bottle and a hangover, we have been given the keys to the kingdom. That's just so freeing. Despair, terror, despair, bewilderment, and frustration, right? The hideous four horsemen. We don't need to live with those guys anymore. I had a sponsor that said, hideous four horsemen gave me a horse. Tag, now you don't know shit from apple butter. That's what he used to say. You don't know shit from apple butter. I have no idea how that went. I hope it turned out okay. Probably kind of a weird way to do a story, but it's what I got. There is a lot more to my story, but like I said, it would take me forever to do. So it's Sunday, so everybody go enjoy themselves. And tomorrow's going to be a new week. It's going to be a new week. We can do a lot of good things this week. Judging Together is going to get together on Wednesday. Team's getting together on Wednesday. And I think after that, you guys are going to be seeing a lot of things coming out of Trudging. Okay? A lot of podcasting. All right. I love you all. Thank you for being here. Peace out. And have a day. I'm going to go pee.